teacher and a rich kid sit me down and offer me $1 million to throw away my future. I'm an orphan with the worst martial talent in school, so on paper it's a great deal. But the same second I reach for the pen, a system appears in my head. $1 buys 1 year of cultivation. I've got $300 in my pocket, so I tell them to keep their $1 million. The teaching office smelled like old goji berry tea and dust. My homeroom teacher, Jiangguo, slid 2 thin pieces of paper across the desk toward me. The deal printed on them was simple. I sign away the rights to my exam scores, and 1 million dragon coins land in my account that same afternoon. He took a slow sip from his thermos and told me it was the best choice I would ever make. I didn't pick up the pen. I just looked at the boy sitting on the couch across from me. Zhao Zhe, the richest brat in our class, whose family owned half the martial gyms in the city. His family money could buy a small mountain. My pockets had less than 400 coins in them, and most of that was loose change. Zhao Zhe looked up from his phone and gave me a gentle smile, the kind that pretends to be kind while looking down on you. He said we could still talk about the price. 1 million cash transferred today. I took a deep breath. In a world where giant beasts tear cities apart and only martial artists can stop them, a regular person earns 3,000 coins a month. Even if I aced the exam, got into a good university, and landed a desk job, I would have to skip eating and drinking for 100 years to save up that much. And now all I had to do was scribble my name. Jiangguo jumped in at the perfect moment. He explained that Zhao Zi's combat talent was nearly perfect, a 9.8 out of 10, but his book scores were trash. If my high book scores could be transferred to him, the rich brat would slide right into the top university in the capital. Then Jiangguo softened his voice and reminded me that I was an orphan who survived on odd jobs. My book scores were good, top 10 in the grade. But so what, he said. Liberal arts kids end up as clerks. This is a world of fists, not books. Zhao Zhe stood up and walked over to me. He was half a head taller and stood close so I would feel small. He told me that martial arts cost money. Poor people study, rich people fight. That was just how it worked. He bragged about the beast meat he ate and the massages he got while I chewed cheap fake meat in the cafeteria. He poked the agreement and asked what a broke orphan could do with passion alone. If hard work mattered, he said, why would anyone need talent or a rich daddy? Every word stung, because every word was true. My talent really was garbage. 3 years of training had only crawled my power score from 0.8 to a measly 0.8 again. The passing line for the exam was 6. I had no money and no future, and a 9.8 brat was rubbing my face in it. So I reached for the pen, my fingers hovered over it. 1 million was a lot. It would at least pay next month's rent. Then, the very instant my skin almost touched the pen, a cold robotic voice exploded inside my skull. A system. The thing every loser dreams about. It announced that it would help me reach the top of the martial world in the simplest, crudest way possible. Its function was to buy cultivation using money. The current rate flashed across my eyes like a glowing menu. $1 equals 1 year of cultivation. 1 year of training in a perfect state, no eating, no sleeping, just pure progress. My hand froze in the air. I usually paid $2 for a single bottle of water at the corner store. $2 could buy 2 whole years of someone else's blood and sweat. My brain started doing math at a speed it had never reached during any actual class. I had a little over 300 coins in my pocket right now. That meant 300 years of cultivation. Even with my donkey-level talent, that much training would smash through the passing line and then some. So why would I sell my scores for $1 million when I could pass the exam myself? And keep my future too. The university spot was worth far more than $1 million. Tax breaks, a license to hunt beasts, protection from the powerful, all of it. I slowly pulled my hand back. Jiangguo frowned and asked what was wrong if the price was too low. Zhao Zhe raised an eyebrow and said 1 million was already the limit, that I should not be greedy. I shook my head and told them I wanted to take the exam myself. Jiangguo's eyes nearly popped out. He shouted that I was crazy, that I had no idea what I was throwing away. Zhao Zi's gentle mask cracked, and the cold brat underneath showed through. He bumped the offer to 1,200,000, then 1,500,000, staring at me like I was a stubborn product refusing to be bought. I bowed slightly, polite and distant, and told him no. Then I turned around, opened the door, and walked out. Behind me, Zhao Zi's voice turned to ice and warned me that refusing his kindness was a mistake. I didn't look back. The door shut, and I left that stuffy little room behind me. Outside, the sun was setting over the school path. I needed to get home fast. I had a system to test, and 300 coins burning a hole in my pocket. 300 years of cultivation, waiting to be unlocked. I didn't get far down the school path before a girl jumped out from behind a tree. Lin Xiaoxiao, the recognized school beauty, stood there pretending we ran into each other by accident. She lived in a fancy villa on the east side, yet here she was on the broken old street where half the streetlights didn't work. Her nose was red from the cold, which meant she had been hiding behind that tree for a while, just to fake a natural meeting. A year ago, I pulled her out of a lake when she fell in and nobody else moved. I left without giving my name. Ever since then, this rich girl had been chasing me around trying to repay the favor, because owing a life debt to a broke orphan was eating her alive. She asked which university I planned to apply for. I told her the truth. Daxia Capital First Martial Arts University, the best school in the whole country. She froze like someone hit her pause button. Then she blurted out that I had a power score of 0.8, the worst in the entire school. After she said it, she looked like she wanted to slap herself for being so blunt. But to soften it, she patted my shoulder and gave me a cheerful speech about how having dreams was a good thing, how maybe I would trip off a cliff tomorrow and find a secret manual, or a white bearded grandpa would gift me 100 years of power. I went along with it and joked that maybe a system would just ding in my head one day. She had no idea how close to the truth that was. We split ways, and she shouted that she would see how I passed the exam in 3 days. I went home, pulled the yellow curtains shut, and sat on my hard wooden bed. The system panel glowed at the edge of my vision. Balance, 328.5 coins. Convertible cultivation, 328 years. My heart pounded. Time to test it. I started small. I told the system to top up 10 coins for 10 years of cultivation. The moment it confirmed, a wave of heat exploded out of my belly and rushed through my whole body. It hurt, but under the pain was a feeling of being filled up. My bones cracked and my shriveled muscles started to swell. 10 seconds later, it settled. My power score had jumped a full point, from 0. 8 straight to 1.8, it was real. 1 coin really did buy 1 year of sweat. I didn't stop, I dumped in 100 coins. This time the heat was a flood instead of a stream. I rolled off the bed and hit the floor, my skin turning bright red like a boiled shrimp. Black sludge poured out of my pores along with my sweat. 100 years of training crammed into my body at once. When I crawled back up, my score sat at 11.8, higher than that rich brat Jose, who ate beast meat and soaked in medicine baths every single day just to reach 9.8. I had passed him for the price of a cheap dinner, but it wasn't enough. The capital was packed with monsters, and 11.8 was a joke up there. I needed more, and my pockets were empty, so I opened a normal loan app on my phone. My credit was trash, so my limit was a sad 1,000 coins. I borrowed every cent and shoved it all into the system. My score rocketed up by another 100 points. The heat this time threw me to my knees. My bones turned a faint jade color and my muscles felt like cast steel. I had broken the human limit. 100 points of power meant I was a real martial artist now. In a small city like mine, a martial artist could walk around like a king. And I had crossed that gap in under half an hour, a gap most people never cross in a lifetime. But I had a problem. I had all this raw power and no idea how to fight. It was like a toddler holding a machine gun. Plenty of firepower, zero aim. If I ran into someone with real combat skill, they would play me to death with technique. I needed martial skills, and skills cost money. I thought about the school's free 5 elements fist and asked the system if money could level up techniques too. It said yes. 1 coin equals 1 year of skill practice. My eyes lit up, but my balance was empty again. The normal loan was maxed out. I had no family to borrow from, just an empty wallet and a head full of ideas. There was one option left. A black app sat in the corner of my screen, an underground loan shark called Black Gold. The interest was brutal. Borrow 9, pay back 13, and that was the friendly version. Miss a payment and they break your legs, or worse. Normal people would starve before touching it, but I wasn't normal anymore. I was a martial artist. I opened it, registered, scanned my face, and applied for a limit. 10,000 coins landed in my account. I told the system to dump 1,000 of it into the 5 elements fist. 1,000 years of throwing punches flashed through my mind like a sped-up film. The skill shot from beginner to perfect in 10 seconds, and I even fused the 5 different forces into one brand new punch. I stood up, threw a fist into the empty air, and a white wave of wind shattered the mirror 2 meters away. Then I went bigger. I told the system to take the remaining 9,000 and pour it all into cultivation. This wasn't a flood anymore, it was a tsunami. My veins bulged like green dragons under my skin, and the light bulb above me exploded. My score climbed past 100, past 500, and slammed into 1,000. I had broken into the martial master realm, an 18-year-old martial master, the first my city had ever seen. I stood in the dark room, dripping with black sludge, feeling power like a deep ocean inside me. 3 years of being called trash, washed away in one night. But I had a debt to pay back now, and a rich brat who still thought I was a loser.
Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you are, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Now back to it.
I lay on my hard bed with my clothes on, eyes closed, but I wasn't sleeping. My senses had become so sharp after the breakthrough that I could hear water dripping from pipes in the next building over. So when a thin wire scraped against my door lock just past midnight, I caught it instantly. Outside my door stood 3 men. 2 had fast heartbeats and quick nervous breathing, clearly ordinary thugs about to wet themselves. The third had a steady, powerful heartbeat and thick blood flow, a real martial artist who had broken the human limit. But to me, a fresh martial master with 1,000 points of power, his strength felt like a tiny candle next to a roaring ocean. He was so weak I couldn't even bother feeling nervous. My brain ran the math in the dark. A martial artist bringing 2 bums to pick my lock in the middle of the night. I was a broke orphan whose only treasure was a pile of study books, so this wasn't a robbery. They were here for me. And the only person I had angered in years was a certain rich brat I had refused that very afternoon. Jiaoze couldn't even wait one night before sending dogs to break my legs. The lock clicked open, the old wooden door creaked, and a scar-faced man named Lao Mo slipped inside first, gripping a steel pipe. He gestured for his 2 helpers to hold down my hands while he raised the pipe over my legs, ready to smash them into powder. I asked him how much Jiaozo paid him. My calm voice in the dark made all 3 of them nearly jump out of their skin. Lao Mo froze, shocked at a 0. 8 Trash could even sense him, but he was a veteran, so he shook it off and swung the pipe straight at my head, deciding to kill me instead. The pipe came down fast. 5 centimeters from my face, it stopped dead. I had caught it with 2 fingers. My index and middle finger pinched together like a clamp. Lao Mo pulled with everything he had, and it wouldn't budge. I told him that was pathetic, then squeezed. The thick steel pipe bent, my fingers left 2 deep dents, and the thing snapped in half. Lao Mo stumbled back, his face white. He screamed and asked who I was. The fake intel had ruined him. This wasn't an ant he could crush. It was a monster wearing human skin. He turned and bolted for the door, not even caring about his 2 helpers. I told him that since he came all this way, he shouldn't leave. I jumped off the bed and crossed the room so fast it looked like I teleported, appearing right behind him. I slammed my shoulder into his back using nothing but raw body strength, not even 1/10 of my power. He flew across the room and smashed into the wall, sprayed a mouthful of blood and bits of organ, and slid down like a pile of mush. A real martial artist, deleted in 1 hit. The 2 helpers, a yellow-haired one and a fatty, dropped to their knees and pissed themselves. Warm liquid ran down both their legs. They kowtowed and screamed that it wasn't their fault, that Jiaoze paid Lao Mo 200,000 to break my legs. They begged me to let them go like a fart in the wind. I felt no pity. If I hadn't gotten the system today, these 2 would have happily snapped my bones and gone off to spend the blood money. That was reality in this world. I gave each of them a clean chop to the back of the neck and they crumpled to the floor. I searched Lao Mo and found a phone and a black bank card. I pressed his finger to the screen and opened his banking app. The balance showed 253,000 coins, the dirty money Jiaoze paid him. I pocketed the card. I had been worrying that 10,000 from the loan shark wouldn't be enough to feed the system, and now a gift had walked right through my door. I told the empty room that I would return Jiaoze's gift at the exam with interest. Then I dealt with the bodies. I pulled 3 big woven sacks from under my bed and stuffed all 3 men inside. They felt as light as bags of cotton in my hands. I opened the window and slipped out into the dead, silent old district where the cameras had been broken for years. I crouched, then shot off like a cannonball, leaving 2 shallow dents in the ground and a blur in the air. 10 minutes later, I stood at the abandoned landfill in the western suburbs. The place stank all year round and was crawling with mutant wild dogs that had grown bigger than wolves from eating trash soaked in weak radiation. I pulled out Lao Mo's knife and cut a few deep slashes into the 3 bodies, letting the smell of blood spread into the night wind. Green eyes lit up in the dark, and I tossed the sacks into the deepest garbage pit. I climbed onto a concrete pillar and watched. In half a minute, dozens of huge mutant dogs swarmed the pit. The sounds of tearing and chewing and bones cracking filled the air. I stayed there for hours, watching until every scrap of meat and even the bones were gnawed up and swallowed. Not even the best detector could pull a clue out of that pile of dog mess now. 3 men, gone from the world completely. I threw the bloody knife and the empty sacks into a pool of toxic wastewater, and the last traces vanished. I went home, scrubbed the blood off my floor 3 times, paid back both my loans, and crawled into bed as the sky turned gray. My balance still had over 200,000 left, fuel for the system. Zhao Zhe thought he had buried me tonight. He had no idea he just handed me the money to dig his own grave. I had the power of a martial master, but I still couldn't fight like one without a proper skill. So the next morning, I walked into the Jiangcheng Martial Arts Library, the only place a regular nobody like me could buy real techniques. I went to the sales floor on the 2nd floor and pulled up the price list on a self-service machine, and my eye nearly started twitching. The skills were sorted into 4 ranks: yellow, profound, earth, and heaven. My free school technique, the 5 elements fist, sat at the very bottom, yellow rank low grade. A single low grade yellow book cost 1,000 coins. A high grade yellow cost 20,000. A top grade yellow cost 100,000. When I tapped over to profound rank, the cheapest one started at 500,000. Earth and heaven rank didn't even show prices, just a cold message telling me I lacked the clearance. I had 240,000 coins. In a small city that felt like a fortune, but in front of real martial resources, it wasn't even enough to buy one decent profound skill. I decided against wasting it. I was aiming for the top university, where students could borrow profound and even earth rank skills for free once they had enough credits. Spending my whole stash on trash that would be useless in a year made no sense. I turned to leave. Then a giant glowing billboard caught my eye. The library was celebrating its 100th birthday, and to celebrate they were offering a profound rank technique for a free trial. A skill that normally cost 500,000, handed out for free. Anyone could smell something fishy, but I was curious, so I wandered over to the booth packed with people. A row of pods sat under the billboard, one of them empty. A young guy crawled out of it covered in sweat, cursing that the technique was impossible to practice. I ignored his whining and read the panel above the empty pod. Breath concealment technique, a profound rank middle grade support skill. Its function was to perfectly hide your own power and disguise yourself as any level lower than your true one. Unless someone was 3 whole realms above you, they couldn't see through it. My heart thumped. This was a skill made for me. If my power score got too crazy in the future, this technique meant nobody would ever catch on. I lay down in the pod, put on the helmet, and the training route map burned itself into my mind. I started circulating my martial master power along the path, and pain shot through me as it squeezed through tiny secret channels in my body. But it worked. The pressure on my skin shrank from 1,000 down toward 500, then lower. I was almost there. Then, right at the final checkpoint, a harsh beep blasted in my head. The trial was over. To learn the rest, I had to pay 800,000 coins. My power, with no route left to follow, went out of control and slammed back into me. I groaned and nearly spat out a mouthful of blood, ripped off the helmet, and sat up. The whole thing was a scam. They give you the easy beginning for free, get your body hooked on the technique, then cut you off at the worst possible moment and demand payment. It was like holding your pee for 3 days and getting your hose pinched halfway through. My channels itched and ached and screamed for me to finish. But 800,000 was more than 3 times what I had. Still, I wanted it. This skill was the perfect mask for my system's secret. I couldn't buy the manual, but I had memorized the core opening route, so I would use a more savage method. I sat in the pod, calmed my breathing, and woke the system in my mind. I told it to take 1,000 coins and force the breath concealment technique into my head. My consciousness got dragged into a blank white space, with no manual and no teacher, just me and that broken half a route. The system forced me to deduce the rest. 1,000 years of trial and error blurred past. I failed over and over, my channels snapping, my power flowing backward. By the 500th year, a lock started forming inside me, and my wild martial master power began hiding obediently into my bones. By the 1,000th year, I opened my eyes back in the pod, the technique complete. I had smashed out a path that the library wanted 800,000 for, using just 1,000. But it wasn't solid enough. I could fool a grand master maybe, but a true monster or a military scanner might still see through me. I didn't lack this little bit of money, so I told the system to deduct another 1,000 and keep refining. My mind shattered the technique and rebuilt it, again and again, carving the secret into every cell. When I finished, my breath made no sound and stirred no air. My 1,000 points of power vanished completely. Locked deep in my bones, I tested it. I let my surface power drop, 1,000, 500, 110, and finally it settled at 0.8. The school trash had returned. Then I pushed it up on purpose. 0.8, 3.0, 6.0, 9.8. Perfect. High enough to look like a top genius in a small city. Low enough that the capital monsters wouldn't blink. I put my hands in my pockets and walked out. Across town, in his hillside villa, Zhao Ze soaked in a dark red medicine bath, while his butler reported that Lao Mo had vanished. His phone was dead, his bums couldn't be reached, nobody had seen them. Zhao Zi stood up, furious, and slammed a towel to the floor, snarling that they couldn't even handle one high school student. The butler calmed him down, insisting Lao Mo had probably just gone too hard and killed the orphan, and was hiding while he buried the body. Zhao Ze believed it. He sneered, leaned back into his bath, and told himself that in the exam hall, he, Zhao Ze, would shine. Exam day finally came. The whole city woke up buzzing, with red banners strung across every street and armed soldiers standing guard every 50 meters. I walked to the gates of Jiangcheng No. 1 Martial Arts High School with my hands in my pockets and nothing on my back, dressed in the same faded shirt I always wore. The plaza outside was packed. Some kids were chugging expensive power drinks. Some were so nervous their legs shook. Then a crisp voice cut through the noise. Lin Xiaoxiao waved at me from beside a black bulletproof SUV, wearing a tight black martial uniform with her hair in a high ponytail. She hurried over and looked me up and down, surprised I actually showed up empty-handed like I was just out for a stroll. She lowered her voice and called me crazy. The first test was the power test, and the passing line was 6. If I stepped up there with my 08, the machine would scream and toss me out in front of tens of thousands of people. Then she pulled a tiny metal bottle from her pocket and shoved it into my hand. It was a liquid pill her dad made, something that could force my power up by 2 points for half an hour, just enough to save me from total embarrassment. I held the priceless little bottle, then pushed it right back into her pocket and told her I didn't need it. She nearly exploded, amazed that anyone could be this stubborn. Just then a commotion broke out. 3 black Rolls-Royce cars rolled in, and Zhao Ze stepped out in a custom white martial uniform, with his hair styled perfect, chin up like he owned the world. His butler trailed behind him. Zhao Ze casually asked if the orphan trash had been handled, and the butler assured him it was clean, that nobody would find Lao Mo's bones. Zhao Ze smirked, satisfied. Then his eyes swept the crowd and landed on me. His pupils shrank to pinpricks. I was standing there alive, without a scratch, giving him a small smile, his face twisted. But with soldiers everywhere, he couldn't say a word about the hit. He just glared and stomped off toward the testing area. The bell rang at 9 and the tests began. 10 silver machines stood in the center of the field, and students lined up in 10 columns. I ended up just a few spots behind Zhao Ze. The machine called out scores one by one, and most kids failed and walked off crying. Soon it was Zhao Ze's turn. He pressed his hands to the sensor, and the red beam shot up past 8, past the perfect mark, and stopped at 10-3. The whole field roared. "Worthy of the Zhao family," they shouted. He pulled his hands back and looked down at me with a smug, pitying grin, like he was showing me the gap between trash and royalty. I ignored him. When my turn came, I stepped up and pressed my hands to the sensor without taking a breath or making a stance, looking as bored as a man waiting for a bus. The red beam shot up. 1.0, 6.0, the passing line ripped apart in an instant, then 9.0, then past the perfect 10. It stopped dead at 10.4. The machine announced it twice, and the entire plaza fell silent. I had broken the school's 10-year record and crushed Zhao Ze's 10.3 by a single insulting point. My old homeroom teacher, Jiang Wo, dropped his thermos and goji water splashed all over his shoes. He stared at my back, his lips trembling, tears and snot starting to run down his face. 3 days ago, he had called me trash and tried to force me to sign away my future for 1,000,000 coins. Now I stood there with a 10.4, and he had personally driven away a peerless genius. He looked ready to faint into a puddle. Zhao Ze froze like a statue struck by lightning, his smug grin completely shattered. He muttered that it was impossible, that the machine was broken. Then a cold sweat crept down his back as he remembered Lao Mo had vanished last night. And for a second he wondered if I could have survived a real martial artist, but he shook the thought off. A 10. 4 was just a fresh genius who barely hit the cap. Lao Mo had 110 points of power. Between us there was supposed to be an endless gap. He decided Lao Mo had simply taken the money and run, and that he would crush me in the combat round anyway with his profound rank palm technique. The line moved on. Then the machine called the next name, Lin Xiaoxiao. The whole plaza turned to look at her. The mysterious school beauty no one understood. She glanced back at me, winked, and told me to watch closely. She walked up and placed her hands on the sensor. This time the machine didn't hum, it shrieked. The red beam didn't climb, it teleported, smashing past the perfect 10, past 20, past 50, then ripping straight through 100. The glass tube cracked. The numbers kept climbing while the machine screamed its alarm, until it finally choked out a result that made everyone doubt their eyes. 406. Evaluation, system overload, unable to score. The proctor dropped his clipboard. A power score of 406 wasn't a high schooler. It was a seasoned beast hunter or a university teacher. Lin Xiaoxiao was an intermediate martial artist hiding in a student's body, which finally explained how her family could hand out a special university spot like candy. She pulled her hands back, fixed her ponytail, and walked through the crowd as everyone scrambled out of her way, too scared to meet her eyes. But the moment she reached me, all that cold pressure melted away. She stopped, lifted her chin, and looked at me with pride, like a little kid waiting to be praised. She asked how that was. I told her it was very impressive. She beamed brighter than the morning sun, then puffed up and warned me not to get too comfortable, swearing that once we both reached the capital, she would double her training and surpass me one day. I just nodded. The 2 special university spots were on the line now, and the combat round was coming. After the morning tests, Lin Xiaoxiao dragged me into her black SUV and drove me to a fancy private restaurant, tucked down a quiet, tree-lined road. The place had no sign out front, just 2 old stone lions and the smell of sandalwood inside. A manager in a tight dress greeted her, and she led me to a private room at the end of the hall like she owned it. The food came without a menu. Steamed spirit fish, braised saber-toothed pig loin, snow frog stewed with century-old herbs. Every dish gave off thick waves of power. This wasn't normal food, it was medicine cooked from high-level beast meat and rare herbs. One bite would give a regular person a nosebleed for hours, but for a martial student, it was pure fuel. She told me to eat up since I had been testing all morning. My martial master body burned energy like a furnace, so I dug in without holding back. The pig loin melted in my mouth and slid down warm into my stomach. We ate in silence for a while. Then she put down her chopsticks and turned serious. She asked if I knew how many spots Zhang Cheng got for the capital university. I figured high scores got you in, but the look on her face said otherwise. She held up 2 fingers, 2 spots, only 2, out of over 100,000 students. She explained that a perfect 10 wasn't enough, that the real cutoff was so high our city might not produce a single student in 10 years. The university gave out a tiny number of combat special admission spots, decided by fighting alone, and Zhang Cheng had clawed out exactly 2 this year, so the combat round would decide everything. The top 10 by combined score would fight, and only the final 1st and 2nd place winners got the 2 tickets to the capital. Then she lifted her chin. That proud rich girl looked sliding back onto her face, and told me flat out that in combat I definitely couldn't beat her. With 406 points of power, an intermediate martial artist, 1st place was already hers. No high schooler could shake it. I looked at her smug face and just nodded along. Okay, I told her I'd settle for 2nd. That fed her ego nicely. She snorted, got up, walked around the round table, and plopped down in the chair right beside me, closing the gap between us. Her hair smelled faintly sweet. To show off her big sister energy, she reached over and pinched my arm, then she froze. Her fingers had landed on what felt like a slab of tempered steel, not human muscle. She pressed harder, and the muscle pushed her fingers right back. Her eyes went wide. As an intermediate martial artist, she knew this was not the body of a .8 weakling, not even close. Her brain started spinning, and for half a second she wondered if my real power could be over 400. She slapped the thought down instantly. Impossible, she told herself. She had stacked her own 406 with mountains of family resources and a decade of training. A broke orphan couldn't match that body in 3 days, no matter what lucky pill he ate. It had to be dead muscle from hauling bricks and cement, she decided, her ears turning red as she yanked her hand back. She coughed and dragged the topic back on track. If I wanted that last spot, she said, I had one real rival, Zhao Zhe. He scored 10.3, only a hair under me, but power wasn't everything in a fight. Then she lowered her voice and dropped the warning. Zhao Zhe had learned a profound rank low-grade skill, the rock-crushing palm, and pushed it all the way to mastery. That meant his attacks hit at least twice as hard as his raw number suggested. My free school fist against his profound rank palm would be a one-sided crushing, she said. Her advice was to never trade blows with him head-on. Use speed, circle him, wear him down, because profound rank skills burn power fast. I listened quietly without telling her that with 1,000 points locked in my bones, I could let Zhao Zhe hit me all day and his own arm would shatter first. But watching her sit there racking her brain for my safety, teaching me everything she knew without holding back, something soft stirred in my chest. For an orphan who scraped by alone for 3 years, Having someone actually worry about me felt strange, but not bad. She wasn't done. She stood up, pushed the round table aside to clear space, peeled off her jacket, and started demonstrating footwork in just her tight black vest. She showed me a move called Swallow Return. Darting at the wall, tapping her toes, and twisting her waist to fold back in front of me, blowing the hair off my forehead, she asked if I got it. I got it perfectly. In my eyes, her footwork looked like slow motion, full of holes, her center too high and her landing too stiff. But I couldn't say that, so I tried it, on purpose stumbling and nearly tripping over my own feet, looking like a klutz. She covered her face and groaned, asking if I was even trying. Then she marched over, pressed her hands to my back and my wrist, and started guiding me move by move, her body warm and close. Her heartbeat thumped fast through her thin vest, and her hand on my wrist started to sweat. She told me to feel the path of the force, her voice drifting, not daring to meet my eyes. I let her tiny push guide my body and played along like a slow learner. A quarter hour later, she let go like she'd been shocked, grabbed her jacket, and stepped back, her cheeks bright red. She warned me to be smart in the fight and not take hits head on, then said she'd drive me home. Outside by the SUV, she pulled a smooth white jade bottle from the storage box and tossed it to me. A third-grade blood nourishing pill, she said, worth at least $1 million on the market, to stabilize my power and heal my channels. I tried to hand it back, saying it was too valuable, but she pulled the car door open, told me to stop being annoying, and called it a gift for the sister she made me call her. Then she stomped the gas and vanished into the night, leaving me holding the priceless bottle I would never need. The combat round filled the indoor arena, 30,000 seats packed tight, with all the big shots of the city watching from above. A massive alloy stage sat in the center. The top 10 of us lined up below it, and the bracket flashed on the giant screen. First match, Suyu versus Zhao Zi. The whole place exploded. The commoner top scorer against the rich family genius, right out of the gate. Before I stepped up, Lin Xiaoxiao grabbed my sleeve. All her usual smugness was gone, replaced with pure worry. She told me Zhao Zi would go for the kill, that I should shout surrender the second I felt in danger. She reminded me that even though Great Grandmaster Lei Potion was watching as referee, the arena was deadly and geniuses had died on that floor before. Then she said she still had that special university spot saved for me, that as long as I walked off alive, the spot was mine. I reached back and patted her shoulder and told her not to worry. Just 2 words, but they settled her down. I walked onto the stage. 20 meters away, Zhaozi cracked his neck, his eyes full of murder. He whispered that he didn't care what dirty trick I used to survive, but if I stepped onto this stage, I would regret being born. I didn't even bother answering a dead man. I just told him that if he was done talking, we could begin. The referee dropped his hand. Zhao Zi erupted, his white uniform snapping in the wind as his 10.3 power flared. His hands glowed with a hard, rocky shine. Profound rank low grade, the rock-crushing palm. He shot across the stage like a cannonball and slammed his palm straight at my chest. I cracked open my power lock just a sliver, letting it jump to 100 points. The pressure of a real martial artist exploded out of me, and the alloy floor under my feet split into spiderweb cracks. Zhao Zi's white palm wave hit that pressure and dissolved before it touched me, not lasting even 1/100th of a second. His face froze in pure terror. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe, locked under a power 10 times his own. Then a stream of warm yellow liquid ran down the leg of his pretty white uniform. The proud young master had wet himself in front of 100,000 people. I gathered my power into my shoulder and charged, ready to send him to meet the Lord. Right before I connected, a burly figure tore through space and appeared between us. Great Grandmaster Lei Potion, his palm pressed against my shoulder, his face pale. Our forces collided, and a ring of white shockwaves blasted the stage railings apart. I slid back 3 steps, leaving deep footprints. The referee had stepped in, which by the rules meant the match was over and I had won. But I wasn't done with Zhao's. With Lei Potion guarding him, I couldn't kill him here, not even with my full martial master power, so I needed him to deliver himself to me. An idea formed in less than 1/10 of a second. I reversed the breath concealment technique hard. The martial artist's pressure vanished like water draining away. Then I went further. I deliberately twisted my power backward and snapped one of my own tiny channels. My face went white as paper, cold sweat poured down my forehead, and my breathing turned ragged like a broken bellows. My power dropped to 100, then 10, then settled at 0.8. I looked like a man who could die any second. I raised my dull eyes to Lei Potion and asked in a hoarse, broken voice if a wreck like me still counted as the winner. Lei Potion stared, stunned. That violent 100-point power had just vanished like a magic trick. He sent a thread of his spiritual sense into my body to check. What he found made his heart shake. My channels were empty, only a weak trickle of power left, and several tiny channels were torn and blocked. To his eyes, I had drained myself dry. He didn't see through the concealment technique at all. Instead, drawing on decades of experience, he came to a wrong conclusion on his own: a forbidden art. He decided I had burned my own life force and martial foundation to force out that 100-point strike, a move of mutual destruction. He looked at me with shock, pity, and a strange flash of admiration, then announced the first match was mine. That was when the Zhao family pounced. Zhao Zhe screamed that he didn't accept it, scrambling up and pointing at me, shrieking that he hadn't lost, that I was a 0. 8 cripple now and he could crush me with one finger. His father Zhao Tianshong leaped down from the VIP box and bowed to Lei Potion, then turned cold and demanded a rematch, arguing loudly that I had used a forbidden art and crippled myself while his son was unharmed. Shameless as it was, this was exactly what I wanted. I steadied myself, ignored the Zhao family's noise, and looked up at Lei Potion in a weak, gasping voice. I asked him to confirm the rules for me. I wanted to know if I happened to kill my opponent in the next match, whether that would break any law. The whole arena went dead silent, scalps tingling. A cripple who looked one breath from death was asking if killing someone was legal. Lei Potion studied me, finding no bluff in my dull eyes, only calm. He told me the rule plainly. On the arena, life and death were left to fate. As long as the opponent had not surrendered or fallen, whoever killed the other carried no blame. The only condition, he added, was that I needed the ability to do it. In his mind, I clearly didn't. Zhao Zhe burst out laughing like a maniac, asking if my brain had flooded from the backlash, sneering that who killed whom was still anyone's guess. His father saw a golden chance. If his son could legally kill this dangerous threat in front of the whole city, even a great grandmaster couldn't object. So Zhao Tianzhong puffed up and swore that if I could kill his son, the Zhao family would never seek revenge, but if I died, that was my own fault. Lin Xiaoxiao grabbed my arm, crying, begging me not to throw my life away for pride. I pulled her hand off gently and told her not to worry. For half a second, deep in my eyes, I let a tiny flash of playfulness show, just for her. Then I turned to Lei Potion and said I agreed. Let's do it again. The rematch began. Lin Xiaoxiao was so forced off the stage by Lei Potion's gentle pressure. Gripping the railing so hard, her knuckles turned white. I stood in the center looking like a man one breath from the grave, pale, hunched, my power reading a sad 0.8. Across from me, Zhao Ze cracked his neck and let his 10.3 power flare again, his hands glowing with the rocky shine of the rock-crushing palm. He sneered that next year would be the anniversary of my death. The referee dropped his hand and Zhao Ze charged, palms flying, white energy tearing the air. I played the wreck, stumbling backward, dodging clumsily, letting his palms graze my nose and crack the floor where I had just stood. He grinned, drunk on the feeling of chasing a dying dog, enjoying every second. Up in the stands, his father Zhao Tianshong leaned back with a cup of beast blood tea, laughing, telling his son to take his time and make me suffer. The butler with the handlebar mustache wiped his sweat and laughed along, but deep down a cold worry gnawed at him over the vanished Lao Mo. I kept retreating until my back hit the edge of the stage with nowhere left to go. Then I let my left foot trip over my right ankle on purpose. My body tilted, my whole right side wide open, a perfect, fatal, defenseless flaw. Zhao Ze's eyes lit up with mad joy. He poured his entire 10.3 power into his right palm and slammed it straight at my shoulder, screaming for me to die. Up on the high platform, Lei Potion saw the strike was aimed at my shoulder, not my heart or head. He judged it wouldn't kill me, just crush my arm. So the 100,000 power coiled inside him relaxed a little. He didn't tear through space to block it. There was no need, since no one would die. That single moment of relaxed guard was exactly what I had been waiting for. The palm landed on my shoulder with a heavy, meaty thud. Zhao Zi's face filled with ecstasy, expecting the crisp snap of my bones. But 100th of a second later, his joy froze and twisted into pure horror. His palm hadn't hit a human body. It hit something hard, like a steel plate. There was no crack of bone, no spray of blood. His proud rock-crushing palm, which dented alloy floors, failed to stir even a ripple on my shoulder. Then a terrifying counterforce flowed back up his arm, and the bones in his right arm snapped with a sickening sound. He screamed, but his old strength was spent, and his new strength hadn't risen, his brain blank from the backlash. I moved, I slowly raised my head, and the dull, dying look in my eyes was gone, replaced by an icy calm. I lifted my right hand and threw a light, lazy punch at his broken arm. No power, no aura, like an old man doing Tai Chi in a park. Lei Potion had just stood up to call the match over. Seeing my weak little punch, he frowned and figured I was just struggling uselessly at death's door. But 1/100th of a second before my fist touched Zhao Za's arm, it changed. My fist became a claw and shot up with a speed that broke past the limit of human sight, aiming straight for his throat. At the same instant, I shattered the power lock I had kept sealed all this time. It wasn't 10, it wasn't 100, it was 1,000. A full 1,000 points of martial master power erupted from me like a bomb. The red glow turned so dense it looked black, blasting a pillar of pressure into the sky that shattered the glass dome above the arena. The water of the lake outside boiled, and the front row spectators were blown flat. Up top, Lei Potion's eyes nearly split open. 1,000 points, Martial Master. He couldn't believe an unenrolled student had hidden it perfectly as 0.8, fooling even his own spiritual sense. He roared for me to stop and burned his power to tear through space and save Zhao Ze, but it was too late. His one slip of focus was the fatal mistake. By the time he reacted, my claw had already locked onto Zhao Ze's throat. Zhao Ze's eyes bulged. He wanted to beg, to say sorry, to offer the 1,000,000 coins, but with his throat clamped, he could only make wet gurgling sounds. I looked into his terrified eyes with no pity at all. I reminded him of my words that once his last words were finished, he could be on his way. Then my fingers closed, his neck bone crushed with a crisp crack that echoed through the arena, and his head slumped at a wrong angle. The proud young master of the Zhao family deleted in public like a chicken. The whole arena fell into dead silence for a full minute. Lin Xiaoxiao stared at my back, her tears not yet dry, her mouth open. 1,000 points, Martial Master. She remembered teaching this hidden monster how to dodge, her cheeks flushing red as she muttered that I was a damn liar. In the VIP box, Zhao Tianshong's smile froze on his face. He had watched his son's throat crushed in front of him. Then grief and rage exploded out of him, and he smashed through the box window, charging at me like a demon. Lei Potion appeared in the center of the stage with his back to me, his face dark. He waved his sleeve, and a gentle but unstoppable force knocked Zhao Tianzhong back a dozen steps. When the father screamed that I had killed his son and demanded my life, Lei Potion pinned him to the floor with his pressure and asked coldly if he wanted to trample the laws of the kingdom or if he wanted to rebel. That last word drained the rage from Zhao Tianzhong's face. In front of absolute strength, his money and power were jokes. He climbed up, took one last hateful look at me, picked up his son's body and walked out. Then Lei Potion turned, his eyes full of shock and a strange respect, and announced to the 100,000 silent people that the first match was mine. Lin Xiaoxiao rushed the stage, grabbed my arm, checked me over, and realized I was perfectly fine, a real martial master. Her face went red with both fury and something else, and she pounded my chest, calling me a big liar. I had won my spot, and the Zhao family was now a blood feud. I woke up the next morning to my alarm clock and grabbed my phone out of habit, planning to check the train times to the capital. The second the screen lit up, blood-red news alerts filled it. A massive fire had broken out at the Zhao family martial hall overnight, and the hall master Zhao Tianxiong and dozens of his core members had no survivors. The official cause was an old energy pipe leak in the basement. Underneath that, another headline. My old homeroom teacher Jiangguo had died at home from a sudden heart attack. I stared at the words. A fire, a pipe leak, a heart attack. Who were they trying to fool? Zhao Tiansheng was a martial artist with robust power and sharp senses. Even if his whole villa exploded, he could have smashed through a window in an instant. He couldn't be burned alive in his sleep. And Jiangguo had trained too, so a heart attack was nonsense. This was a silencing, clean and efficient, with no traces left. The person who did it was so strong that a high-level martial artist couldn't even find a chance to run or scream before being wiped out. I asked myself who could have done it. I was an orphan with no backing in this city. Who would wipe out a local power family just for me? Lei Potion wouldn't use assassins, he was a great grandmaster who answered to the government. That left only one person, a pure, pretty face with a ponytail floated into my mind, Lin Xiaoxiao. The girl who had stood in front of me on the arena and cursed Zhao Tiansheng to his face. I had planned to come back and clean up this threat myself, once I got strong enough. Someone had beaten me to it. The favor was getting heavy. I washed up, picked up my old canvas bag and went downstairs. At the street corner sat a flashy black armored SUV. The window rolled down and Lin Xiaoxiao waved at me in big sunglasses, telling me to get in. The inside was spacious and smelled of soft incense. In the driver's seat sat a middle-aged man in white gloves, his presence calm but hiding terrifying power that I could feel was above the master. Realm, she called him Uncle Lin and told him to drive to the train station. I had barely set my bag down when she tossed an old book onto my lap. The cover read rock-crushing palm in 3 ancient characters. The Zhao family's heritage skill, the very palm Zhao Zi had tried to kill me with, an Earth-rank low-grade technique. She had tossed this priceless original manual at me like junk from a roadside stall. I looked up at her sleepy face and understood everything. The Zhao family in Jiangwo had been wiped out overnight by this seemingly pampered, unpretentious young miss. Not even a chicken or dog was left alive. My understanding of how deep a top family's power went sank a layer deeper. She yawned and curled her lip, saying she had watched me on the arena and noticed I didn't even have a decent skill, just raw power smashing things. At the capital university, that would put me at a disadvantage, she said. So she figured this trashy book was good enough to hand me. I didn't mention the fire or the teacher. Some things were better left understood in silence. I just put the book carefully into my bag and told her thank you. She flushed and waved it off, telling me to stop being so polite with my big sister. In the back of my mind, I was thinking about something more important than the book. The system. I had over 200,000 in dirty money to feed it, and a card from her family I would soon learn about. But I knew I had to be careful in the capital. The system erased money with no trace, no transfer record, nobody on the other end. If 100 million suddenly vanished from a card her family watched, they would know something was wrong instantly. I would have to wear the genius skin, earn money in safe and traceable ways, and only feed the system in private with cash that couldn't be followed. I was still too weak. 1,000 points let me walk tall in this small city, but in the capital, in front of the monsters there, I was nothing. Stay low, earn smart, then go crazy with the top-ups. The SUV pulled onto the highway, the air conditioning hummed. Lin Xiaoxiao had spent all night silently leading the cleanup of the Zhao family, and now sleepiness hit her like a tide. Her head started nodding. Bit by bit, as the car rounded a gentle curve, her head tilted and landed right on my shoulder, my body stiffened, and the faint sweet smell of her hair drifted up. But my sharp martial master's senses caught something. Her eyelashes were trembling just slightly, and her breathing was a touch too fast for real sleep. She was faking it. The clumsy acting was full of holes. I didn't move or call her out. I thought about those blood-red news alerts again. Wiping out a whole family overnight, even with her family's top experts doing the work, was a heavy thing for an 18-year-old girl to carry. That pressure wasn't just the killing. It was the family weight she had forced onto her own shoulders just to protect me. She was tired, so I quietly lowered the shoulder she leaned on by half an inch so her head could rest more comfortably. Feeling the small adjustment, the base of her ear hidden under her hair turned bright red, and the corners of her mouth curled into a sweet little smile she thought I couldn't see. The car sped toward the capital, toward the highest martial school in the whole kingdom. I had a system, a fortune in dirty money, and a girl beside me whose family could erase enemies like wiping dust off a table. The small pond of my hometown was behind me now. Ahead waited a sea full of monsters, and I planned to swim straight to the top of it. The train pulled into the capital, and a sea of people flooded the platform. Lin Xiaoxiao grabbed my hand and laced our fingers together, saying the station was a maze and a country bumpkin like me would get lost. Her ears were red, but she kept her chin high. I let her lead me out. Waiting by the curb was a low-key black sedan, and a man leaning against it with his arms crossed. The second my eyes landed on that man, my muscles tensed to the limit. Danger, real danger. He stood there releasing nothing, looking like an ordinary neighbor, but to my senses he was a bottomless abyss, a sun that could burn everything. Lei Potion's 100,000 power felt like a single drop of water next to this man. Lin Xiaoxiao ran over and hugged his arm, calling him dad. Her father, the helmsman of a top capital family, was at least a martial emperor, maybe higher. One person could press down a whole nation. He rubbed his daughter's head, then looked past her shoulder at me. The look carried no pressure, just a calm gaze, but I felt seen through from the inside out. I greeted him as Uncle Lin, my back straight, my hands at my sides, showing no fear. He smiled and offered his hand, introducing himself as Lin Zhentian. He already knew everything about me, the orphan, the double perfect scores, the 18-year-old martial master, even the Zhao family's downfall. He shook my hand and called my talent quite good, but inside, his mind was a storm. The intel said I jumped from 0.8 to 1,000 points in 3 days, and he cursed his spies as useless trash for believing it. To his martial emperor senses, my 1,000 points were condensed, heavy, stable, as a rock polished for 10,000 years. This wasn't some lucky upstart. This was a foundation built over countless days of brutal training. He decided I was a hidden monster who had trained in secret for years, fooling everyone. His respect for me shot up to a terrifying level. He offered full backing, told me to come to Xiao Xiao if I lacked pills, skills, or weapons, and said not to feel like I owed a favor, because a strong me was good for his daughter and the kingdom. I thanked him but turned down his offer to stay at their home, saying I'd find a hotel near the school. He laughed, liking that I didn't fawn, and let me go. Lin Xiaoxiao took me by taxi to a high-end apartment complex 2 kilometers from the university, where even the security guards were real martial artists. She led me to the top floor, the only unit on it, and tossed me the keys. Her dad had bought it and left it empty, she said, and from now on it was mine. Before I could refuse, she slapped a black metal card onto my chest. The pin was my birthday, and inside sat 100 million coins. Spend it however I wanted, she said, calling it a venture investment in me, since a genius like me shouldn't be held back by being broke. I held the card, my throat tight. An orphan who once had 300 coins, now handed 100 million like it was nothing. I told her it would be the most profitable investment of her life. She flushed, hooked her arm around my neck, and warned me that if I took her money to chase loose women in the capital clubs, she would bite me to death. Then she fled out the door, her ears bright red. Alone in the huge apartment, I pulled out the black card and stared at it. 100 million. Fed to the system, that was 100 million years of cultivation. My power would explode, but after 3 seconds I killed the thought. This was the Lin family's territory, and a big shot like Lin Zhentian surely watched every coin on this card. The system erased money with no trace, no transfer, no recipient. If 100 million vanished into thin air while my strength jumped without buying a single thing, even a fool would know something was wrong. The card was for buying cover materials only, never for top-ups. My own dirty money would feed the system in private. I put the card away, calm again. My stomach growled. I went out and found a noodle shop near the school, where a bowl of beast meat noodles cost almost 4,000 coins. The capital was robbery. I ate it clean and wandered toward the university to see the highest martial school in the kingdom. 2 black stone pillars 100 meters tall stood at the entrance, covered in old blade marks and dark bloodstains, with 4 blood-red characters above. Martial arts is a struggle. My 1,000 points boiled just looking at them. I followed the crowd to a huge, dead, silent lake in the center of campus. In the middle sat a bare black reef with half a broken dark red spear stuck in it. A stone tablet told the story. 60 years ago, a beast tide erupted, and the 3rd headmaster fought alone for 7 days and nights, slew over 10,000 high-level beasts, then burned his life to nail this spear into the rift and seal it. Half the spear was all they recovered, the shaft stained with his dried heart's blood. The soul-suppressing spear, I sat in a quiet corner and sent my senses toward it. The instant I touched it, a murderous pressure 60 years old slammed into my mind and nearly made me spit blood. My 1,000 points felt like a candle in a storm. An instructor nearby told a group of freshmen that comprehending even a trace of this spear intent made you invincible among your peers, but it only happened once a decade. Comprehension and luck had never been my thing, but I didn't need them. I had paid a win. I woke the system and told it to deduce the soul-suppressing spear intent for 1,000 coins. My mind got dragged into a blood-red space, and I watched that lone figure thrust his spear for 1,000 years. I touched the edge of it but couldn't pierce through, so I dumped another 1,000. The window paper tore. The moment I comprehended it, the broken spear in the lake screamed and shot a pillar of dark red intent into the sky, splitting the clouds. The whole university shook. Everyone collapsed under the pressure. I stood up, pointed a finger at a multi-ton landscaping stone, and a dark red wave sliced it clean in 2. 3 figures appeared before me in an instant, tearing through space, each one a top powerhouse far above a great grandmaster. The heads of the spear, blade, and fist departments, drawn by the spear's cry. They argued and nearly fought to recruit me, offering treasures, secret realms, and millions in cash, only to freeze in shock when I told them I was an unenrolled freshman. When I calmly asked if I could cash out all those resources instead, their jaws dropped. Just as the spearhead was about to agree, a voice like thunder roared from the sky above the lake, freezing all 3 heads in respect. They bowed at once and called the name of the man stepping out of the void in a black robe. The vice principal, a martial emperor, had come down himself to claim me.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment $1 1 year if you want the next part to this series. See you in the next video.